with you again. I love it. And today we're going to be working on Psalm number 5, which traditionally is a psalm that people use magically for special favors. And God doesn't give special favors. It's like oxygen doesn't think anything especially for you versus somebody else. But it can appear as though we need a special favor, and this is why. I'm sure everybody who's done any kind of spiritual work for, especially the kind that we do, trying to get practical, tangible results, sometimes it looks like it's not working. Sometimes it looks like our, quote, prayers have not been answered. And there can be a lag time between when a spell is completed and when it turns into manifestation. Now, if your need is really great, it can seem like an eternity, even though it may not be. And the danger in that little period of lag time is that you can start to think, oh, it's not working, this isn't working, my problem is still here, and then you go back into the other train of thought, which kind of starts to cancel out the work that you did. So doing a spell for special favors like this is very helpful because it can help to speed up the realization that your desire is on its way and it actually is manifesting, and just to be patient and trust. Just like the sun's coming up in the morning, you're not going to worry, oh no, today's the day it doesn't come up. That's the kind of faith we have to learn how to instill in our witch's pyramid. Faith, imagination, will, and secrecy are the four points to the witch's pyramid. Anybody that's done the witch's primer or any basic witchcraft training or magical training knows that pyramid of power, faith can be the most difficult one to achieve. And we're not talking necessarily about religious faith or spiritual faith. We're talking about faith that your magic's working. Faith in the reality of it, not so that it's not just a game we're playing, that this is really going to make a difference in us. So Saturday is the day of both Saturn and Uranus, or in the angel magic that I practice, it's both Cassiel for Saturn or Ariel for Uranus. And Ariel is oftentimes contacted for the 11th hour miracle. It doesn't have to be an 11th hour miracle that you need, but it is the same kind of idea that I need to see something moving in the right direction here, because this has to happen soon. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of all sense of worry, all sense of hurry. Remember, it's the quiet mind that gets magic done. You've got to quiet the mind, or it won't. You can't get results. So we got to quiet the mind down. Recognize that yes, there may be a problem that needs to be solved, but there's also an infinite principle there as well. And that infinite principle is more powerful than any apparent problem, so therefore your problem is divinely outmatched. And you need to just remind yourself of these things, and that's where the Psalms can be very, very helpful, because you're leaning on an old magical tradition here. There's religious traditions in here too, but that's not really what we're concerned with at all. We're concerned with the magical tradition of the Book of Psalms. Your ancestors in the craft practiced these and got results from them. So you want to lean on their successes. And that's one of the beautiful reasons why the Psalms are of immense value. And if you have any resistance to doing the Psalms because they seem a little too Bible-y, it's helpful to remember that we look at them magically, not religiously. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do this talisman and first. And I finally put up a video that explains the talisman, so I don't have to go through it all the time. So just go and look at that and see what we're doing. So we're putting everybody in here, all viewers. and we are going to claim peace. Let's do serenity. I like serenity. We're going to claim serenity. We're going to claim oh, I had a great idea. Now I can't remember what the word was. It's too early in the morning for me. I'm still having my coffee. Serenity, faith is a good one, but it's not quite what I wanted. How about certainty? So we're certain that your problem is actually being solved right now as we speak. And fulfillment. So your desire has been fulfilled. Okay, then we're going to close that circle. We're going to trap these energies. This is a nice one. We're going to use Ariel. So we're just putting the symbol for Uranus on the four corners. That's all our invocation consists of. It seems such a simple little thing, but it's so powerful, because we know that as we draw these symbols, we are invoking a great archangel, Ariel. He's a throne angel. I mean, he's a big wig in the if you're into angel hierarchies. Okay, so we are all going to have serenity. We are all claiming serenity, certainty, and fulfillment through the use of this psalm, Psalm number 5. Van twice, mimosa once. Sprayed in the general direction, but it got on here. Yes, I can smell it. Okay. Okay. And another way that you can incorporate color, if you want to keep these tea lights, which are so nice because they don't take forever to burn, is just to use a colored holder. That's another way. Now, electric blue is one of Ariel's colors, but also rainbows are his color, which is interesting for anybody in the community. The GLBT LMNOP community. And the rainbow flag is definitely Ariel's flag. So we've got a very powerful angel behind us. All right. Okay, so here we go. Let's read through Psalm number 5 once as an incantation, and then we'll go through it and see if we can unlock these mysteries and just allow these thoughts to sink deeply into our minds. Whether or not you think you understand the inner mysteries, remember that we are connecting with every single person in history who has used the psalm to have tangible, physical results, have their needs met, have their prayers answered, have their magic work in very successful ways by using these psalms. We are leaning on their successes and their experiences when we do this. That is one of the big powers of using these psalms, in addition to the power inherent in them. This grand spell book of God. All right, Psalm number 5. To the chief musician upon Nehiloth, a psalm of David. Give ear to my words, O Lord, consider my meditation. Hearken unto the voice of my cry, my King and my God, for unto thee will I pray. My voice shalt thou hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning will I direct my prayer unto thee, and I will look up. For thou art not a God that hath pleasure in wickedness, neither shall evil dwell with thee. The foolish shall not stand in thy sight. Thou hatest all workers of iniquity. Thou shalt destroy them that speak leasing. The Lord will abhor the bloody and deceitful man. But as for me, I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy, and in thy fear will I worship toward thy holy temple. Lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. For there is no faithfulness in their mouth. Their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is an open sepulchre. Sepulchre in French. Sepulchre. They flatter with their tongue. Destroy them, O God. Let them fall by their own counsels. Cast them out in the multitude of their transgressions, for they have rebelled against thee. Let all those that put their trust in thee rejoice. Let them ever shout for joy, because thou defendest them. Let them also that love thy name be joyful in thee. For thou, Lord, wilt bless the righteous. With favor wilt thou compass him as with a shield. That's nice. All right, give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my meditation. So God is always listening. So this is not making God change, saying, oh, hello, can you listen to me now? Stop listening to her, listen to me. That's not what we're saying. We are telling ourselves that God is listening. God considers our meditation. And God listens to us no matter what we're thinking. Right? No matter what we're thinking. So we gotta make sure that we are clear on our thoughts. Now the other thing about that too is your subconscious mind always hears what you're thinking. And it's the multitude of thoughts that give rise to what the subconscious believes. So if you spend most of your time thinking about your problems and then every so often you do something about them, it doesn't really help. You need to come out of your magic and not only realize that the meditation within your magical practice is important, but whatever you're contemplating all day long is a meditation. So you learn how to start refocusing your mind regardless of what you think the situation looks like. Hearken unto the voice of my cry, my King and my God, for unto thee will I pray. All right, so who is your King? Who is your God? All good. The source of all good. You are plugging into the Force, to use a Star Wars analogy. It's not a separate God. It's not a king meaning separate from you. It's not a religious worship outside of some sort of extrinsic deity to you. We are plugging into all power. We are plugging into the force of the universe, and that is our king. That is our ruler, because everybody's really gives us life. My voice shalt thou hear in the morning. O Lord, in the morning will I direct my prayer unto thee, and I will look up. Again, the first is telling us to look to God first. The biggest problem that we have, the biggest problem that we have in life, is that we come to God as a last resort instead of looking to God first in the morning. So after we've tried everything else to fix our problems, then we go to God. And you hear about this in the craft all the time, and even in angel magic, in the Pauline arts. Don't bother God with stuff that you can take care of yourself. Don't bother the angels with little things. Wait for the big things. No. For one thing, your idea of big and little is meaningless because you don't know. All you know is from your own perspective. And if you're having these problems, that means your perspective is skewed. So you don't know this is a little problem. You don't know this is a big problem. You don't know. If you train yourself, if you discipline yourself to go to God first, no matter how little it seems, all the little details of your life, go to God first. And then listen, claim divine guidance. Claim divine understanding, claim divine intelligence, claim divine love, whatever is necessary within the situation, go there first, and then whatever is in front of you to do in the present moment, backed by divine guidance, then you do in the world. You don't do in the world on your own and then say, well, now that I've really screwed it up, I better go to God. No, that's not the way to do things. In the morning. Okay, and I will look up, meaning I'm looking beyond, I'm looking up, not necessarily to the sky, but looking up to the superconscious mind within me, the part of my mind that knows that knows only the answer. For thou art not a God that hath pleasure in wickedness, neither shall evil dwell with thee. So wickedness and evil, meaning the negative thoughts, the negative circumstances. If you think of the negative circumstances as simply an extension of a negative thought, then you'll understand what that means. It means that's wickedness, that's evil. Not moralistically. It's just it's wrong thinking. It's incorrect thinking. It's thinking on your own rather than thinking with God. And God doesn't have evil. God doesn't have negative experiences. God doesn't have negative thoughts. So if you go to God first, it's telling us right there that evil won't dwell. Evil doesn't dwell with God. So if we go to God, then the evil's gone. All those negative thoughts are gone. If we wait to go to God, then we're just putting up with bullshit that we don't need to deal with. And that's just a tragedy. So let's knock that off right now. And it doesn't matter what your concept of God is. It does not matter what your concept of God is. If you go to Isis, that's fabulous. If you go to Diana, fantastic. If you go to Carnunos, good for you. If you go to Apollo, But you still have to understand that every manifestation of God is simply a manifestation of the one power, the one source, the one substance, the one truth in all the universe. There's only one. There's only oneness in all. Once you realize oneness, then there's nothing to fear because there's nothing to oppose it. And that's just a realization that you have to have in order for these things to start manifesting in your three-dimensional reality, which we think of as the real world, and our mental world is the non-real world. And that just shows you how screwed up we are, because we've got everything upside down and backwards. The foolish shall not stand in thy sight. Thou hatest all workers of iniquity. Now, hatest, God doesn't hate, but that's a poetic way of saying that the light doesn't stand for darkness. Darkness can't abide within the light. So in that sense, the light hateth the darkness, meaning it destroys it, meaning that it doesn't exist for it. It doesn't know. It hateth it, meaning that it doesn't know it. So the foolish shall not stand in thy sight. You're foolish if you try to fix your problem yourself. So you're not standing in God's sight because you're thinking, I know what to do. Well, if you were so smart, you wouldn't have this problem, right? So instead of thinking you know how to fix the problem, go to God, which is the solution, and then you're not being foolish because you're standing in the sight of God. Thou hatest all workers of iniquity. Worker of iniquity is the part of you that is trying to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic. You know, it's not helping what you're doing. So instead of being a worker of iniquity, trying to figure it out and fix it yourself and running around like a chicken with your head cut off, all you do is you say, whoa, stop, move to God. Stop being a worker of iniquity. Instead, we're going to go to God. Thou shalt destroy them that speak leasing. The Lord will abhor the bloody and deceitful man, meaning all lies. All lies. He's gonna destroy not you, not the child, not his child, not her child, but those evil thought forms which are in reality nothing, which are in reality lies. Lies aren't true, therefore they're not real. So they will be destroyed again in the same way that the darkness is destroyed by the light. That's the bloody and deceitful man, is the part of us that believe that we know how to fix our problems. But as for me, I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy, and in thy fear will I worship toward that holy temple. Meaning, when you're coming into the house of the Lord, that can be two things. That can be that secret place of the Most High, and also the house, meaning a religious house, that you're entering back into the lineage of which you are a part. The royal lineage of God. That is your birthright. Nobody can take that away from you, but you can sure go off and pretend that you're a pauper, right? And in thy fear will I worship toward thy holy temple, meaning great respect. You have great respect for this force of the universe. And worshiping in that holy temple simply means remembering that good is good, that good is all power. there is only one power, and that when you connect with that power, when you are one with that power, when you look only to that power, you are literally worshiping that power, meaning that you are becoming one with it. To worship is to become one with. Lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness, which you're already one with it, by the way, but you have to remember. It's remembering your oneness. Sorry. Lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. Okay, your enemies are your enemy thought forms deep within. So because of them, you're going to God and asking him to lead you in his right way. He's going to show you how to think right, to act right, to be right. And the path will be straight before you, meaning very, very clear. Do this. And you're not thinking about tomorrow, you're not thinking about next Tuesday, you're not thinking about February. You're thinking about right this second. What's happening right this second? What has God put in front of you to do? Please lead me. I got that taken care of, right? And one of the things you can do to make you to find this way is to remember that order is heaven's first law. So the one thing you can do if you've got an insurmountable problem, if you've got messes in your life, like physical messes, if your bed's not made, if your closets are cluttered, if you've got dirty dishes, if your refrigerator needs to be cleaned out, if you've got messes in the closets and everything is in disarray, or anything is in disarray, your car's cluttered, your car's not been washed, whatever it is, that's in your power. That's in your power. And what you can do is you can start right where you are in cleaning your little messes up and claim divine order as you do that. And that divine order starts to be what you're aligning with. And then you'll notice that these other places that you don't seem to have control over start lining up within that divine order. So do what's in front of you to do. Make thy way straight before my face. That means you can do something to make that way, to find that way. And listen to God. Listen to your guide, your angel, your inner intuition. For there is no faithfulness in their mouth. Their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is an open sepulchre. They flatter with their tongue. Okay, so basically, this whole phrase is talking about this whole verse, I should say, is talking about those evil thought forms. Don't listen. Don't listen and you'll catch yourself, and you just be more and more on guard to the chatter inside your mind that's thinking and obsessing over the problem. Wait a minute, God's the solution. If you think about God instead of this problem, then you are putting yourself back on the beam of truth. And you can put yourself pretty much on autopilot, because if you're on that beam of truth, you'll know right where to go and into the solution of the problem. So when you catch yourself listening to these evil thought forms, you don't have to fight against them. You just say, "Whoops, I'm listening to that. Instead, I need to listen to divine guidance." And so start contemplating God. And again, I'm not talking about, I don't have to, I say this over and over and over again because people get confused. We're not talking about a specific deity. We are talking about the divine love out of which you are created moment by moment by moment by moment. It is all powerful. Right? And just start thinking about the qualities of that power. Infinite love, infinite being, infinite unity, knows only the solution, all powerful, nothing can oppose it, blah, 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 blah. Come up with your own things. Get your mind started to ruminate on those things rather than your problem, right? Now, for one thing, it will work. You will get a result. But if you're doubting it, think of it this way. Even if it didn't work, and even if your problem never got solved, what's it going to hurt? Even if you can't have any control over it, aren't you going to feel better thinking about these divine qualities rather than worrying about your problem anyway? So just try it. Just try it. And you'll notice that you are safely delivered out of that problem. All right, destroy thou them, O God, let them fall by their own counsels. Cast them out in the multitude of their transgressions, for they have rebelled against thee. In other words, evilness destroys itself. Evil destroys itself. If you don't give it audience, if you don't engage with the inner demons, they will die out of disuse. God will take care of them. You don't have to worry about those thought forms. God will take care of it for you. All you have to do is turn your attention away from them. Give it over back to the source. But let all those that put their trust in thee rejoice. Let them ever shout for joy, because thou defendest them. Let them also that love thy name be joyful in thee. This is wonderful, isn't it? This is another great one to memorize. But let all those that put their trust in thee rejoice. Now you're putting trust into the very thing that keeps you alive. You're putting trust into the very power that keeps your heart beating. You're putting trust into the very thing that keeps the oxygen going into your bloodstream and keeps gravity working so that you stay on the ground. Right? So the very thing that gives you day-to-day blessings, as awful as you think your problem is, you have a heartbeat. You have a body. You have a mind. You have things to be grateful for. Right? So if you put your trust in the power that is the source of those things, then you will forever shout for joy because God defends you. Now, God would love to defend you from all of your problems anyway, but if you're going to focus your mind on things that are ungodly, God can't violate God's own law. That would be like saying, okay, now gravity is for everybody except for that guy is really important and he's about ready and he's falling off of a building. So we're going to stop gravity for that one, but not for everybody else. Okay, now oxygen is for everybody, but that guy's really mean. So we're going to stop oxygen for him, right? That's not how principle works. Principle is universal. So when you put your trust in the source, then that source defends you from the negative situations in your life because that's the principle involved. If you put your focus on other thoughts that are problem causers, then you get more problems in your life just because that's the law. That's just how cause and effect works. It's the law of mentalism. It's the law of consequence. So, but the good news is that if you put your focus only on the source of all good, it is so much more powerful than lies. Just like light is more powerful than darkness, truth is more powerful than lies. Therefore, you're going to causation at a much higher level than the little causations of your inward little lies that you're telling yourself and that are causing you your personal problems. So you can take your personal problems and go to a universal principle to be so that they are solved by realigning with the universal principle. For thou, Lord, wilt bless the righteous. With favor wilt thou compass him as with a shield. Now the righteous means right thought, right thinking, right acting, right being. Again, not right and wrong moralistically. It doesn't have anything to do with sex. It doesn't have anything to do. Well, it can have something to do with sex. I mean, if you're using sex in an evil way, but it's not about that kind of thing. It's talking about the righteous, meaning if your mind is stayed on good, good will follow. If your mind is stayed on abundance, abundance will follow. Now people think, well, if I say an affirmation, I am abundant, I am abundant, I am abundant, and they talk about it like a parrot, but they spend all their time like, I'm abundant, I'm abundant, I'm abundant, just to try to stuff down the true feeling that they have, which is I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills, right? Then I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills is the dominant thought, and that's what's manifesting. So that little I'm abundant is not doing you any good except for frustrating you. That's not righteousness. Righteousness is saying, of myself I can do nothing. Whatever caused this problem, I don't understand it, and I don't know how to get out of it. But there is a power that controls the entire universe, that is the source of who I am, and it is who I am in the same way that a sunbeam is connected to the sun or a wave is connected to the ocean. I am a part of that force, and that force not only has a universal principle of healing and correction, but is personally interested in me and my well-being and my success and my healing, and loves me and cares for me. And the only requirement for me to access that is to turn my attention to it, because my attention is where the power is in my life. So there's no such thing as as not having faith. It's just you've been having faith in your problem. So if you learn how to have more faith in God than in your problem, it clears up. And so notice when you're doing that at that 11th hour, it's just like, oh no, God's not going to work. This is not going to work. This is not going to. That's when you have to say, wait a minute. I know how this shit works. I'm going to turn my attention back to the source. I'm going to claim what it is that I need, and I'm going to allow God to destroy the inner enemies that are creating this problem for me. For thou, Lord, wilt bless the righteous with favor, wilt thou compass him as with a shield, meaning you will always be protected. You will always be protected. And if you come to the realization that you are protected right now, that you are righteous right now, and that it doesn't take any kind of process, all it takes is a decision to turn your mind back to the source, I promise you God does not hold anything against you. No matter what it is you think you've done, no matter how bad you think you are, God does not hold it against you, and God's only here to correct it. And he does it right now. And it's up to you to turn that attention and to keep it turned toward the source. I hope that was of help to you. I adore spending time with you, and I can't wait to talk to you again. Much love to you. Blessed be.